Where will Tony Romo be playing in 2017? Claybon, I start with you.
Why not? He'll be playing in Denver.
Why not? Well, listen, first of all, if you're watching us, we appreciate the listeners on iTunes. Thanks for that. And if you're watching it on NFL.com/DDFP, you are seeing right here him in all the uniforms that kind of make sense. At least you could make a case. I think the Arizona Cardinals would be a fun fit there. I know that practically they don't have the greatest offensive line, but still, that would be a fun one. If you dropped him into that, as bad as Carson Palmer was with David Johnson, I don't know if Fitzgerald's coming back, although I think if he heard Romo was coming, that would incent him to maybe try in 2017. Bills, I don't love. Bears, he's from that neck of the woods.
It's true. Homecoming.
He's brittle, though, and would the cold suit him? But I'll tell you, if they can bring Alshon Jeffrey back and Kevin White, the offensive line is very good. I like him in Chicago.
They're not bringing back Alshon.
Alshon is out.
Alshon's out that door.
All right, so they have Kevin White, and they get him another pass catcher.
Cameron Meredith, man. That guy's good.
Let me tell you my favorite one. The Houston Texans.
That's my favorite, too.
I like the narrative there. I know people like splashy Gotham and, put him on the Jets or put him in L.A. or something like that. But imagine he stays in the state of Texas and then makes Dallas pay by tormenting them from not nearby Houston, but either way, he has DeAndre Hopkins. He has those young pass catchers, Lamar Miller behind him, a great defense, J.J. Watt coming back. I dare say they would be one of the top 2 or 3 favorites in the AFC going into 2017 if they had Tony Romo under center. How say you, Armin?
That is my favorite option, and I kind of hope it does happen just because I feel a little bit bad for Bill O'Brien. Not too bad because some of it's his own fault, but I think he's a really good coach, and he's just constantly chasing his tail with the quarterback thing. I think this could at least be a nice stopgap option. So I'm with you. That's my favorite option. Let me tell you the two I don't think are going to happen. I don't think it's Denver because I don't think the quarterback position has been that big of a problem for them this year. It's that their running game and offensive line have fallen apart, and I don't think that's a conducive environment to stick Tony Romo in and think you're going to get better play than you really got from Trevor Siemian at times, especially with his durability issues. And also, Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if this is a hot take. I'll let you be the expert on that. I think I'd rather have Carson Palmer right now than Tony Romo.
Whoa.
That's not hot.
I think it is. Carson Palmer was dreadful this year.
I don't think he's been that bad. Just watching some of the game film and everything, I think he's been better than he's been given credit for. But again, the protection has fallen apart, and he certainly can't move in the pocket like he used to, and especially during some of his peak years and even last year. But I think that if they upgrade the offensive line, they get better protection. He has a stud running back. I think Palmer can have a bounce back year somewhat next year.
I also think it's fair to bring up the fact that a year removed from John Elway, given all the other GMs out there are playing checkers and Elway's playing chess. He gets it. And forget last year when they're 5-0, people were saying that. See, Elway, he's the Hall of Fame QB, and he gets it. You don't have to reach to get a quarterback and everything else. Now they're on the outside looking in here, and a lot of it has to do with him. People have talked about Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. How did everybody miss on him? Well, John Elway missed on him. He went for Paxton Lynch, and that I'm not saying it's a bust at this point.
The Cowboys kind of missed on him too. They wanted to trade up for Paxton Lynch, and they said they were bummed about not doing that.
I mean, Simeon and Paxton Lynch equal. I mean, they're fine, but are those
But is Tony Romo? I mean, here's the question.
I'm not making a case against that. I'm just pointing out that Paxton Lynch, if he were a real difference maker, maybe he would have made a difference this year.
You're right. I just wonder if Romo is a difference maker anymore.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, we're coming up on basically 2 years since Tony has played, and you guys both mentioned Houston. Does Tony want to play for Bill O'Brien?
That's a good point.
In the way that they play, at some point with Bill O'Brien, you have to ask yourself, is it me?
That's a fair point.
You see guys like Brian Hoyer, which is a joke, the early season Brian Hoyer statistical success stuff, but it seems like guys are doing a lot better once they leave Houston.
But also I think it's an underrated or an undercovered thing that the AFC South was ruled by Andrew Luck, and before that Peyton Manning, and very quietly, and it's not Bill O'Brien alone who's done that, but the Texans keep on winning that division. It's a bum division, and they don't make any hay once they get to January. But if you put a high-end QB, if Romo counts as that, I think they could, like I say, they could be a real favorite in 2017.